Hey, what's up? I'm DJ Sixsmith. You're watching the Sit Down. Hanging out today with Larry Sanders, former NBA player. What's up, man? How are you?
Man, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. How's the quarantine been for you so far?
Man, it's been good, man. Ups and downs, but it's been good.
I like that you still got the Bucks jersey in the back there. You gotta rep it, right?
Oh, for sure, for sure. I got the Cavs jersey over there, so you already know.
That's nice. So why don't we wind things back a little bit? I mean, you had this awesome basketball journey. When did you realize that hoops was going to be the thing for you?
I started playing basketball when I was officially took it seriously when I was 15 or 16. Yeah, so it was later in life. Before I wanted to be an oceanographer for a large portion of my childhood, and then I grew art was there, so I liked architect, and I wanted to be an architect and draw houses and get into drafting and whatnot. So I studied that in high school, but I just got tall and I had good coaches, man. I had real good teachers who were super patient with me. They understood I was a raw, young, tall kid that didn't know much. So I was just fortunate that I had some good teachers and it helped me excel pretty quickly.
One of the things I love about your story is that you've just always been this creative dude. So whether it's oceanography or architecture, where does that all come from? Who were some of the inspirations behind your creativity?
Well, I would say art was just always there in my life. As a young kid, grew up in and out of homeless shelters and battered women's shelters with my mom and my sister. So by always traveling, my most important asset was my notepad, what I could draw in, and it kind of took me away and really let me be creative. So I just held on to that, and I still draw to this day. So art's just always been there, man. It's just kind of my release and my a real passion of mine just to be creative. In the ocean, living in Florida, we took a lot of field trips to the ocean. The first field trip I can remember, we went to a swamp, and they showed us how they broke down the compost and the different animals. So the wildlife is you're running the wildlife right away in Florida as a kid, and I just love the ocean. It was always a mystery for me. So I got these. I started to do different things in my community, and I got these grants and scholarships to go to different academies in the summer. So it was dope, man. It really occupied my time, and it kept me away from other things when I was young.
And it's cool also that you had basketball going on at that point and just all these different interests. Because I feel like today we just try and push kids to do one thing and excel at one thing. But it's a lot better actually to have a range of a bunch of different things. And I think it's really important that you had that, right?
Yeah, for sure. I never really felt like I had to play basketball. I did it because I wanted to do it. It was fun. It was super hard and difficult, but I was I wanted to do it at the end of the day. It was my choice. I had no pressure. And I had a lot of support from my mom and my dad too. They were super supportive, but they never no one was ever you're tall, you gotta play.
Right.
You go do layups. I hate that. I don't do that to my kids, because I don't want them to take the fun out of it. I think if they want to do that, that's perfect. They'll probably make it to the NBA or they'll probably make it to a high level.
Right.
But they got to have that drive. You can't really make a kid, have that drive.
Yeah, I totally agree there. So you started 15 or 16 playing hoops. So when do you get good? When do you feel like you're actually comfortable out there on the court and really start to excel?
It's funny, I'm a big numbers guy. So 3 has always been a very important number for me. So the third year, which was my senior year, was I kind of just dominated at that level. We went to states. I think I was averaging 22 points and 15 rebounds and 7 blocks. And, my first year, it was maybe 5 points. It was a huge jump from my first to my third. And then it was kind of like that in college too. I kind of felt like my first year was kind of getting my feet underneath me, understanding the game. And then by my third year, I was getting drafted 15th into the NBA. So, and then my third year was also my breakout year in the NBA, where I averaged 10 points, 10 rebounds, and 3 blocks. So by that third year, I kind of just get it. It's like clockwork, and it's just always kind of been like that for as long as my career, I can remember.
Yeah, it hits differently for everybody. So you end up going to VCU. Where else were you considering at that point besides VCU?
George Washington University. I went there for a visit. Western Carolina, they were the first school to recruit me. So I went there for a visit. That was pretty cool. They're like in the mountains. And at this point, I'm so ignorant to like college basketball that I don't even know the difference between a D1 and a D3.
Oh wow, okay.
Literally, I didn't like the kids. The kids used to call me D3 at the playground because I thought D3 was the highest level. So they're like, I'm like, yo, what up? When they playing me, and I was really ignorant to the game, to the whole conferences. So everything just kind of came really fast, and started to understand like the Big East and the CAA and the whole world of college sports.
So you go to VCU at a pretty interesting time. I mean, it's you, it's Eric Maynard. Like people know VCU today, but like you guys really put the school on the map in a lot of different ways. So what are some of the best memories from playing at that point in your career?
I'll just say just playing with those guys, man. Like we were real brotherhood. Like it felt like we were at war, like all the time. But it was good because we always had each other's back, and we won a lot. Just playing in the Siegel Center and like every game sold out. And like we're probably losing 1 or 2 games at home, if that. Like we used to rock out, man. And there was no football, so like basketball is the only thing VCU got. And baseball is ranked high too. But they really cherish their basketball, man, and the city loves it. It's just I had the best college experience I think anyone could have, like really. And I left early, so.
Mm-hmm. That's really saying a lot. And that VCU band too, man. I mean, it's one of the best in college sports.
Man. Crazy, bro. Like that's crazy. All that support, you just feel like, you just feel like a winner.
So you're doing your thing at VCU, and then like you said, year 3, like you're really starting to pop. When do you realize like, oh my gosh, I could actually make it to the league and be a top 15 pick? When does that happen?
I'll probably say the summer going into my junior year, I went to like Stoudemire camp. And then I got invited to LeBron camp after Stoudemire camp because I kind of pretty much dominated it, like the bigs didn't want to see me. And then I kind of, after going to LeBron camp and playing against like some of these guys who are like the best in the world, I'm like, yeah, I'm going to the NBA. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like I got this.
Do you remember who else was at some of those camps? Like any of the other guys that ended up making it?
Yeah, Greg, Monroe, Derek Favors, DeMarcus Cousins, DeRozan, John Wall, Bradley Beal.
Yeah, it was the best of the best right there at that point.
Yeah, my draft class was lit. Yeah, 2010, my draft class was lit. So
and then think about it, you go to LeBron camp and then later on you're teammates with LeBron. Like that's a nice
it's great. Yeah, Stoudemire, I went to his camp and then, I'm playing against him in a few years, dunking on his head. So it's like, yeah, things happened fast. It was super surreal that these guys who I looked up to, had their posters on my wall. And now like, they on my poster. So it was dope.
How about draft night? What do you remember about taken 15 overall by Milwaukee?
Man, it was sweet. James Harden was there with Eric Maynard. They came to my draft party at VCU because they were teammates at the time. They both were playing at OKC. So that was dope that he was, they were 2 guys already in the league there from my experience with me. My family was there, flew them to Virginia, all my teammates. And we watched it in the Siegel Center. And it was dope, man. Once they got to like 10, I like ducked off into the room. It was just me, Eric, James, and I was talking to my agent on the phone. And yeah, just stayed in there till they said my name. Then I went out in front of my people. It was exciting, man. It was dope. It was like, it happened so fast. A lot of this stuff I take in afterwards, so.
Yeah, it's really special. So you get to the league, and then what are some of the big surprises? Because it's one thing to excel at college hoops. The NBA is a whole different beast. So what were some of the surprises early on for you?
I would say just the mental side. Like you really got to know like the plays. You really got to know the X and O's and terminology. Like I didn't know a lot of the terminology going into the NBA, so I was learning a lot. Of like what different things were up screen, down screen, and it was kind of like You know, they were kind of like, how the hell are you here? You don't know what that means. But after you see me run around and jump a couple of times, you'll get why I'm here. You know, I just had this natural talent to play defense and run. But the terminology was definitely something that I had to learn.
Yeah, and that comes with time. And I mean, you were the perfect type of player for where the NBA was and still where it is right now in terms of being a rim runner, a shot blocker. Like, you pick up the other stuff along the way, but I'm sure you're able to just, you know, kind of slot yourself right in there and really make an impact from day one.
Yeah. I kind of know my niche and how I affect winning. So, you know, once I kind of got that underneath me and, you know, I know what I bring to a team and that's important. You know, everyone kind of got to know their role. And, yeah.
So year 3, you mentioned in the NBA, you really start to pop. What are some memories from that season? I mean, you're like in the running for most improved player at one point in your career. Like, what are some of the big highlights when you think about your time in Milwaukee?
Man, just, you know, the different teammates. I played with Brandon Jennings, Monte Ellis, Drew Gooden, Keon Dooling, and, you know, Andrew Bogut. So I had great teammates, great fans. They, you know, the fans are dope in Milwaukee. They really like diehard, long time fans, you know, and so it was good to like be a part of that community. You know, they really took me in, and I felt like, you know, I was really a part of like the Milwaukee community. Like, it was always Larry chant, and, you know, I was always in the stands and interacting. So it was just fun, man. It didn't feel like, it really felt like I was coming to see like my people every day, you know, and like hanging out with like, you know, the people in the city. Yeah, it was good, man. It was good.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really awesome community, supports the team. And then, you know, it's one thing to get to the NBA. Another thing is like to get the big contract, and you got the big contract. So what was it like getting that? And, you know, what do you remember? I mean, going from playing basketball at 15 to getting a $40 million contract, like that's
Right.
unbelievable,
Right. Nah, it is. It happened. Like I said, it happened quick. But yeah, dog, like, you know, even, you know, it's funny. I have confidence, and, you know, otherwise I wouldn't have gotten to where I was. But my confidence is in my ability to work hard. I don't have confidence that like I'm gonna be the next this or I'm gonna make $44 million. My confidence is in like, I know I'm gonna like bust my ass today in this drill. You know, so before I know it, I look up and, you know, I'm signing this $44 million contract. And yeah, you know, I would just say for anybody who, you know, like, you know, just work hard, just like kind of focus on your side of the street, and shit, somebody will pay you for it. somebody will pay you for your hard work, but don't work for the paycheck. I just I never saw it coming. Basically, you know, I just knew I just had to work hard. So yeah.
Yeah, I feel you. How about young Giannis? What do you remember about when the Greek Freak first got to town?
Yeah, man, just not knowing much English, super like, you know, ignorant to like just common American food, you know what I'm saying? Just not knowing much about anything, but really young, really raw, super like talented, super goofy. Like, he has this attitude that was just real playful, but serious at the same time. Like, he'll dunk on your head, but at the same time, he wants to play all the time, and he wants to constantly learn, and he has like this he had this childish, boyish way about him that I knew that like would definitely help him in the NBA. You know, like, because you play 82 games. You know, like, you want to still remember that you're playing the game. You still want to be in that game mode and play mode, because that's when you're at your best. You know, and when guys can be like that out there and like almost be at a playground, it's like they're really at their best. You know, but when it starts to feel like work or too much of a demand, you know, I think that's when guys aren't performing at their best ability. So.
You know, when I think about your story, Larry, I think another big part to talk about is marijuana, and also just the way that you look about it and talk about it, because you've been really open about the benefits of it, especially medical marijuana, and just, you know, the amount of opioids that are put in front of people. I think that's a huge problem. And some parts of the country are progressive with it. Sports leagues aren't. So what was it like balancing that while being an NBA player and realizing like, hey, smoking helps me, but I may get popped by the league if I do this?
Yeah, it's a crazy parallel. It's a crazy parallel because I knew I could feel the effect it was having on my mental, as far as like helping me and benefits on my sleep, on my pain, in comparison to like what I was given, the pills. So me personally, as the scientist, I knew what helped, what worked. And it just always came down to legalities. Like, this is illegal. This is federally illegal. Even if it does benefit you, the stigma, the if you get caught, this and that. So, it sucked. I felt like we were just like in this prehistoric age, like, you know what I mean? Where like we're just still in this discovery mode, and it sucks that people are still suffering when there's solutions out there that are just deemed illegal because of some stigma, or, it's gonna be negative to effect on the medical world or whatever it is that's holding it back, because, I've had so many conversations about it, and they would agree with me. Sometimes they would even agree, but they would say at the end of the day, it's federally illegal, so, I just had to take chances. I had to just take chances with my health, and I knew, there were risks involved, but it's my health. Like, there are other risks too, like bigger than just a fine when it comes to like reconstructing my brain chemistry because I'm taking a pill. You know what I mean? Like, this is residual damage that I got to deal with for the rest of my life. So.
Yeah, there's not enough talk about the impact that those drugs have on you mentally and just in your overall mental health. And that's a crazy thing too. It's like, look at the NFL. Like, finally, they're going to start looking the other way when it comes to marijuana in terms of suspensions. Right. And the NBA should do the same thing too. And I feel like you got pigeonholed like towards the end of your career as like, oh, that guy smokes weed, but this guy is also a great player. So what was it like dealing with that towards the end there?
Well, like I said, a lot of it was, I understood. Like, I understood the stigmas. I understood, like, NBA is like a identity issue. And the NBA, I knew this coming, and I felt it when I was there. They have like an identity issue where the identity, overall identity of the NBA, it's still trying to be controlled by the owners. It's still trying to be controlled from the top. And when they did feel like they let the players control it, they feel like it got out of hand. They got real thuggish. And then there was the brawl, So I feel like this is identity issue that, like, thugs and delinquents and fighters and, and then marijuana comes in there too. You know what I'm saying? All this stuff plays in, it's like a bigger issue, I feel. And they've always done things to try to like tighten up on how the players dress, how they represent the teams. It's all about identity and representation. When it becomes federally legal, then labor laws, they'll kick in, and you can't say I can't smoke at that point. You know what I mean? It's just be like smoking a cigarette or drinking a beer. So I think they'll probably wait for that to happen before they move, because they're progressive in the sense of, I don't know that question. Do you think the NBA is progressive? Do you think in what way? In what way?
Yeah, I mean, they're progressive in terms of, societal issues, certain racial issues, and, certain sexual issues that are talked about. But this is certainly something that all these sports leagues are lagging behind in terms of something being federal law and not bending on that. And it hurts guys like you because, like, theoretically, you could still be playing in the league if you wanted to. But some guys in your cases get typecast a certain way, and then here we are having the same conversation over and over
again. Yeah. I think marijuana is not why I left the league. And honestly, I probably would have just been in the league smoking weed if I wanted to stay in the league. But it did cast a negative shadow, and it just made it like a lot harder to just play basketball. You know what I mean? Which, like, my kids probably won't have to deal with that,
right?
Which is crazy, So, but there were a lot of issues there, especially being in Milwaukee. Like, the staff and how they kind of treated you. It was a lot of punishment based. So things kind of got out of hand for me mentally when things started breaking down physically first. I feel like, there was always like this mental warfare that you just come into Milwaukee and it's like from the top, there it's like this mental warfare, and you know, Scott Skiles was there, so it was really deep when he was there. So it was just a lot to deal with, man. Like, you know, you didn't know what to expect. There was barely any communication as far as like the direction of how they saw you as a player.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if they even saw you as a person. It was so different from anything I had experienced. And, yeah, I just started playing basketball, so I was like overprivileged to have these guys who were patient, who talk to me. And then I get to this point, you know, in 6 years, I'm still a baby in the game, you know, but I have these guys that are just super militant, not personable, you know, like it just kind of blew me, you know, it really had me thinking like, damn, like I'm giving a lot for this, and I got injured, I wasn't treated right, and I'm giving a lot for something that I wanted to be an oceanographer, you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, basketball wasn't even the main thing for you originally. Yeah.
You know, so I had to really look at myself in the mirror and sit with that and be like, yeah, I'm getting paid a lot of money, you know, but I'm sacrificing myself. Like I'm being ridiculed, I'm being chastised. They're not getting to know me. Is this something like, am I really fit out for this business? Because it's not like I can come in here and change the whole business model around. You know, it's like you're either in it or you're not. And I had to make the decision, like, you know, this ain't the type of business that I like being a part of. I don't like my livelihood or my kids' stability to be up in the air. You know, you can just trade me to Houston or Dope, you know, without me even knowing. Like so many different, I got to make life adjustments now. You know, it's crazy. You know, and yeah. So there are some things that you probably need to tighten up. You know, and I think all players in the league, out of the league, will contest to that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a lot of really important things that you just mentioned there. I think player development is huge. Having the right head coach is really important because, like, Scott Skiles is like the old guard of NBA head coaches in terms of like drill sergeant, like played in a different era, coached in a different era. You needed somebody that was more of a player's coach, that somebody that was going to hear you out, meet you where you were at, and also somebody to help you progress along, as opposed to just be like, hey man, show up, do your job, be professional. Like you were still raw in the game. Like you were still trying to develop personally and professionally at that point.
Right. And so it was almost like
No, feel free. No, go right ahead.
I was gonna say it was almost like a struggle. You know, it was no more like the teaching was like, why do I have to teach you? You know, you should know.
You still have to be taught, even if you're in the NBA. Like it's not a finished science or anything like that.
Yeah.
So you mentioned all the things about the game and just what you wanted outside of basketball. So how does the Cleveland situation come together? And even though it was a short run for you, what was that experience like?
Yeah, so I stopped playing for like 2 years. I didn't touch a basketball for 2 years straight. I didn't dribble, I didn't do anything. And then, you know, I had a son and my daughter was getting older and, you know, I wanted to reconnect with my fans. So I was like, let me work myself back into shape and see if I can, you know, make a team. You know, I did. And honestly, the Cleveland situation was cool, but I mean, I worked out for Miami. I worked out for the Spurs. I worked out for Golden State. Teams that I was like really interested in. And then I worked out for Cleveland, and not that I wasn't interested, but they pulled the plug like at the workout. Like as soon as the workout was over, they're like, here's the paperwork. Come sign this for the rest of the year. And, you know, I was excited, so I did. Looking back on it, I probably would have waited because Kyrie was there. Right. They didn't know how they were going to keep him. LeBron didn't know if he was going to stay. They had so many internal issues, and then they're bringing me on, who I haven't played basketball in 2 years. I'm a whole fucking
a lot going on in that team.
Yeah, you know, it's like no, you know, I maybe I should have went to a team that didn't have as many issues, not trying to win a championship, just kind of developing. It could have I could have just had more time there, but. It wasn't, you know, they cut me the day before. It gave me that same sour taste in my mouth. I still had like the league looking over my shoulder when it came to marijuana. Right. Just, I had lived almost 3 years just as a person, living my life, being an entrepreneur, building businesses and just feeling free. Like I'm not doing anything wrong. So I don't feel like I'm doing anything wrong. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. And I just went back and I just automatically kind of felt like I was doing something wrong again, you know? So
Yeah, it's a terrible feeling, and it's really shackling. And especially after 2 years of being an entrepreneur and just living life the way that you want to live, and smoking and doing whatever you want to do. And then suddenly it's like, wait, I got to do this all over again. Like, I totally understand what you must have gone through.
Right, right.
So why don't we talk?
And for something that I know, will eventually change. You
Right.
know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like
And you're gonna
that's
be the
the
one
part.
laughing, like, guys, I told you, come on. Like,
Yeah, that's
yeah,
the part.
it's real tough. But I think the great thing about you is, like you said, you have all these different interests. You got involved in business and entrepreneurship. So what's it been like flexing that muscle and really doing a lot of cool things, whether it's in fashion and music and stuff like that?
That's been fun, man. That's been fun. Like as soon as I left, I started really taking the production seriously and producing. I built a studio in my crib out in the valley, and I had like this artist incubator with like, man, I had a photographer, a screenwriter, a fashion designer, a model, an R&B singer, and I housed them. Yeah, and we all just like collectively did work, and I helped them individually also. We did individual projects. We collectively did stuff, and all those guys are just thriving now. They're in better situations. They got their own place. You know, those guys were like living in their cars when I met them. Like
Wow.
everyone was like pretty much homeless. And three of those guys are from Milwaukee, which was dope because I met them in Milwaukee. Then had the house out in LA. And just like I said, they're thriving. Like they're popping, man. They really got their stuff together. And during that time, I was able to produce for Drake's artist, Party Next Door, and we went gold. And create my clothing line, man. And you know, now I wrote a couple TV shows and a movie and a book.
Awesome.
So yeah, I'm in the midst of, you know, trying to get that stuff off the ground. And I just like being creative and you know, also helping other people be creative. I feel like that's so important. Like, you know, like it's dope to see people thrive and gain stability from like their passions. You know, like that's life to me. So yeah.
Yeah, to hold the door open for the next crew coming in. Like, people just need the runway. I mean, like the incubator stuff, that's like a straight Silicon Valley thing. It's like, hey, I have the money, I have the house, everybody come in, do your thing, and like now it's paying off. Like, that's really awesome.
Yeah. Facts.
So give me one room you've been in, like post basketball, whether it's fashion, music, where you're just like, I can't believe I'm working with these people, hanging out right now. Like, this is blowing my mind.
Man, when I first came to LA, it's a good question. When I first came to LA, I was like, I went to Snoop's compound, and I was with Snoop, Raekwon, and Dame Dash.
Damn.
Yeah, and they was having a conversation about money, and Dame Dash was trying to get Snoop involved in some kind of scheme thing or whatever. And they would just, you know, I'm just first time in really just moving here, and I'm talking to Snoop about my decision, and it was just dope. I was like, damn, it's Raekwon, Snoop, Dame Dash. You know what I mean? Like, it's some knowledge, some wisdom. So everyone's just chopping it up, and that was pretty dope.
It seems like you're somebody who, after basketball, like, you didn't have many issues. You were clearly set up to do other things. Obviously, a ton of athletes have problems with it in terms of finding their next identity. Why do you think you've been able to be so successful so far?
Well, I didn't stop. I kind of just hit the ground running. I was super excited about like just having the freedom and the resources to create. So like, as soon as I had that freedom, I was like, okay, I gotta do this, 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 I gotta go here, I gotta do this. And it's still like that to this day. It's just kind of how my mind works. Like, I feel like there's just unlimited amount of things to just do and get involved with. So I don't know, I'm kind of just built like that. I think it can be staggering when you invest so much of yourself into something. Like I started playing when I was 16. So a lot of guys started playing when they were 6. You know, like, and they took it seriously when they were 6. And, you know, this has been their main drive and focus their whole life. You know, so it can be, I can imagine it'd be pretty scary to think about doing something else and feeling that passionate or fulfilled. You know, it's like you kind of got to relearn or rediscover a whole new passion. And the thing about ambition, it's a youthful thing.
Right.
Like ambition kind of fades as you get older. Now, the average retired, you know, guys retiring at 37 or 35, like the ambition and drive to like find a new passion just ain't there. Like, let's just be real. It's just not, it's hard to muster it. So a lot of guys end up coaching or doing something on like ESPN, or it's rare that guys dig into like a whole nother passion and none of this, because like it's the ambition's not there either, and the drive, and so like I think it's very important like that the owners and everyone involved in like capturing these youthful men understand the responsibility of like their longevity, their second life, like making sure they can sustain what they have because of what you're really taking. Like what you're giving is cool. Like you can say, oh, you're getting paid better, but you're taking his youth, you're taking his ambition, you're taking his drive, taking his way to get a second win, a second life. So the exchange ain't really fair unless you're helping me sustain what you're giving me, especially when I don't have you anymore. It's like a lot of these leagues just turn their back and close the door, and like why can't I go to any NBA arena and go sit? Why can't I go to any NBA arena and go sit and go to a game? Yeah. Like I played in the league, yeah, I paid my tithes, why can't I, even a Milwaukee game, why can't I just walk right into a Milwaukee game? I don't know. It's
just go to any NBA game and just stroll right in, sit down.
The NBA player, like where's the Lord? It's so deep when you're in it. You just feel like so connected to it, and everybody's so much love, and you talk to the owners and they're kissing your kids, but as soon as like that next day, it's like it's not the same, and I don't know. I don't think that's right either.
No, it's really well said. It's like, thanks for your service, and then we'll see you later. We'll never talk to you again. And that's not the way it should be. And I appreciate you saying that, because we need more guys to tell those stories and realize there needs to be more of a relationship between the players and the leagues and the teams after. And once they're all done, once they've been playing for the team. And you totally get that. And more people need to understand that. So, Larry, thanks so much for hanging out, man. It's been awesome getting to know you.
Yes, sir.
And looking forward to the next chapter for you. Have a good one.
Yes, sir. Appreciate it, man. You too.